The basement shotcrete was done against lath and it came through in a very messy way that would take a lot of stucco to cover. It's hard to tell in this 2D video, but the wall is really lumpy, with many lumps sticking out up to an inch. Unlike the block walls we did earlier, these walls are really too rough to apply the stucco with a trowel. We tried applying the stucco base coat by hand, but it was much too slow. Sherry did a good job and she was speeding up with experience, but this section, along with some motherhood distractions, took her about 4 hours. So I decided to buy a mortar sprayer. The mortar sprayer from Toolcrete USA is well designed and well made. Mine has the angled hopper for doing the walls and ceilings. It has 4 nozzles to blow the concrete. It also came with a second set of higher capacity nozzles, but these ones seem to work just fine. You can see they basically just blow the mortar or stucco through these holes at the bottom of the hopper. The catch is providing enough air. A 1/4 inch hose probably isn't going to cut it. Instead, I got this larger capacity compressor from my father. Actually, I remember hating this noisy thing as a kid. And then I shopped around for the largest fittings I could find. I was actually looking for 1/2 inch fittings, and then I realized that the compressor itself only had a 3/8 inch outlet. It turns out that 3/8 fittings are much easier to come across. So now I have my adequate compressor, 100 foot of 3/8 inch hose and fittings, and my mortar sprayer. I do have a drum mixer, but the mortar sprayer is designed to scoop right out of a wheelbarrow. So all I needed was a bunch of bags of stucco scratch coat, and I headed down to the basement. Mixing with a hoe and a wheelbarrow is pretty easy. Here I'm just using pre-mixed Quikrete stucco base coat for about $6 for an 80-pound bag. But later I may save a little bit of money by mixing my own and using Portland cement and some of the on-site sand. Then I used a scratch tool to make horizontal lines. After letting the scratch coat cure for a week, I came back with Hunter to apply the finish coat. Again, we just used pre-mixed Quikrete stucco finish white coat, which costs about 20 bucks for an 80-pound bag. We just mix it up one bag at a time in the wheelbarrow, and then we could scoop it out and shoot it on the wall. While Hunter was mixing the next bag in the wheelbarrow, I would try to smooth the wall as well as I could. I ended up using my glove to give it an organic look. I also used my hands to pack it around the pipes, etc. Switching to the sprayer cam, you can see the easy scoop motion, and that it doesn't take very long to spray it all out again. Hunter is speeding things up a bit by moving the mortar from the corners of the wheelbarrow to where it's easier for me to scoop. If the mix was too thick, it just wouldn't slide down in the hopper to where the nozzles could blow it out, and you would need to shake it down a bit, which would also get tiring. However, if the mix was too thin, which only happened in one load, we found that some of it would just pour out the holes before we could shoot it on the wall. So consistency was key. Here you can see how the handle and hopper design makes it pretty easy to use the mortar sprayer without being too tiring on your arms or back. Climbing the ladder with the sprayer was really slowing us down, and it was tiring. But if the man on the ground scooped and passed it up to the guy on the ladder, it was much easier. And after giving the mortar a few hours to stiffen up a bit, while I cleaned up, I could go back over it with a wet grout sponge and get it a lot smoother. This is how it looks at the end. I would call it mostly smooth organic. Not perfect, but much better than before. At some point I also painted that board white, mounted the electrical panel, and connected the circuits, etc. Over here, things are a lot rougher because I was pretty worn out by the time I got to this side of the room, and I just didn't take the time to smooth it as well. Overall, the mortar sprayer is a success.